Hi, this is Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis, coming to you not from the greenhouse, but from my mudroom where most of my orchids are. I've got a few around the corner here that you can't see, but basically I had to bring all of my orchids inside. So I felt like that was a good time, or today is a good time, to talk about weather and extreme climate conditions for your orchids. So, it's February 14th, 2021, and let me set the stage for you here. We have a polar vortex coming down into central Texas, a couple days after some major cold fronts hit. So over the past couple of days, this entire area has been covered in ice. We're basically locked in our houses. We can't leave because the roads are iced over. I'm going to show you some photos here of some of the plants around my yard and what it looks like, and it has looked like for about 3 days now. So for the past 3 days, it's been just below freezing, but starting today on Valentine's Day, it's going to drop another 20 degrees. So our low temperatures for some estimates look to be close to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow and the next day, so Monday and Tuesday. Now, why do I bring this up? Why is it relevant, aside from the fact that I'm really annoyed that I had to bring every single one of my plants inside? Well, basically, I want to talk to you a little bit about weather extremes. So when it comes to weather extremes, as you can see right now, the weather extremes that I'm worried most about is winter, and that's not something that we typically have to deal with here in Central Texas. It'll get down to the low to mid 20s occasionally. In my greenhouse it'll dip down into the low 40s for short periods of time, but like I've mentioned in other videos, if the plants are dry around the roots, that's typically okay for catasetums and for cattleyas, most cattleyas. However, this is very different. So the heater that I have in my greenhouse is just not able to keep up with a temperature of 0 degrees. A lot of folks in the Northeast probably kind of roll their eyes, but we don't have to worry about that kind of thing typically here in Central Texas. So I've had to bring all my plants inside, or they'll freeze. It's a very easy choice to make. An annoying one because it takes several hours to move everything in and out. Especially, everything behind me basically is blooming right now or has spikes, so being very careful with those guys is very frustrating. That said, it pays to be diligent. It really pays dividends to watch the weather and be cognizant of what's coming. In fact, I'm going to post to you right now the forecast from a couple days ago. So I saw this coming. I saw these bitterly cold temperatures. I've watched very carefully the temperatures inside my greenhouse and what they are outside the greenhouse to sort of gauge and estimate what could happen at various low temperatures. And so I wasn't blindsided. This is sort of a slow motion disaster actually coming to this whole area. This is probably the equivalent of a Category 4 or 5 hurricane hitting the coast. We're not prepared. Everybody's water pipes are going to be bursting. There's going to be people's cars are littering the ditches as far as the eye can see. There are massive branches hanging very ominously, covered in ice over these power lines, and we're going to get 1 to 4 inches of snow tonight. So that's only going to make things worse. So, but knowing that that's going to happen it's probably a good idea to know that kind of stuff just for your general life, whether you grow orchids or not. But really be cognizant of that if you have, your plants outside, if you're in a greenhouse, sort of a standalone greenhouse like mine. You have to know the limits and how to prepare. So I've brought all my plants inside, but now that I've seen what can happen over the next year, I'm going to purchase bubble wrap for my greenhouse. I'm going to think about getting a bigger propane heater. My current propane heater just doesn't cut it. I suspect this polar vortex type of thing is going to be much more frequent now. because of climate change, and I'm not going to get into that now, but basically you have to be prepared, and that's the whole point of this video. Conversely, in summertime is really the season that folks in Central Texas kind of focus on as a weather extreme, you know, having 105-degree temperatures for months on end. So to remedy that, I grow under the shade of oak trees, and I grow plants that are just fine with those temperatures. You know, if you're trying to grow cold types of orchids like Masdevallias or Draculas, or even some of the intermediate ones, some like the Oncidiums. Some of the Oncidiums don't do well in heat. You're gonna have a tough time, or you're gonna have to pay money to cool a greenhouse, or bring them inside, or do something to mitigate that way. So watching the temperatures all year round is really important. Additionally, knowing when thunderstorms are coming and when storms that could be damaging to your collection or the housing around your collection can be very important. You know, I'm worried tonight that I'm going to lose power inside my house as the tree limbs start going down and taking down power lines. So, but we'll see how we do. I have some hardier plants, some garden plants and whatnot in the garage, and hopefully they'll pull through. But we'll see. In any case, I knew this was coming. I was able to prepare over the course of several days. I was able to move my orchids inside, and even though it is certainly a mess behind me, and all of us are trapped inside, you know, we're all kind of going a little stir crazy, and it doesn't look like it's going to let up for a couple days. Even my cat is wandering around just yowling because he's bored. But the fact that we knew it was coming is good. So you really need to focus on that. Something else that's useful for temperatures is monitoring temperatures in real time. So this is a sensor push. This is an old device. As you can see, it's seen some better days in terms of the cover, but the inside still works. The device, this is a real life temperature, a thermometer and hygrometer. So it tells me exactly what the temperature is wherever I put it, and the humidity. And I have found this to be one of the most useful things that I've ever purchased for my orchids. It is in my phone. I can check my phone in real time to see what the temperature and humidity is any time of day, any time of night, any place. You know, if I go to the beach for the summertime and I'm worried about what the temperatures are and whether or not the orchids will need watering, I can check the temperature in real time there. Sensor push is great. This little thing, and there's a transmitter that's outside, and it's a line of sight kind of thing. So the transmitter is probably 50 feet outside, and then my greenhouse is another couple hundred feet beyond that, and I have no problem with the signal. So it's really a cool device, and there's a bunch out there like this. The transmitter, sort of the relay portion of this, which is a box with a little antenna that sticks up, plus this sensor actually is about $100. So it may have been 120. So you know, I'll put a link here to their website. Super easy to buy, and the coolest thing is it tracks your temperature and humidity over time. So I can look back over the past year and see what my highs and lows were. I can see, you know, what yesterday's highs and lows were, what last week's highs and lows were, and it's a really, really useful device for figuring out what your temperature and humidity is at the time, and then thinking about how your orchids are sort of adapting to that. It's really helpful to know what the temperature has been in the past, especially for myself. I like to water every day in the heat. If my temperatures are above 95 degrees, I'm going to hit them with water in the evening during the summertime. If temperatures are between 85 and 95 degrees, I will hit them every other day. And then I'll go a couple times a week for temperatures below that. And then in the wintertime, you know, it's really handy to have this little guy will set an alarm for maximum and minimum temperatures, which is useful in wintertime here in Texas. As you can imagine, wintertime minimum temperatures, knowing what those are is useful, but maximum as well, because in the greenhouse, I found that a 65-degree day with sun translates to 110 degrees inside the greenhouse when everything's sealed up. So I've got a fan that kicks on and draws in cool air from the outside when the temperatures hit 80 degrees. And so it's really useful to know, what your predicted temperatures and weather are for the future, what your current climate conditions or the immediate past are, and then even looking farther back in time is useful for helping determine trends and orchid reactions to the various climate extremes that we all face, in normal times and in the face of climate change. So being prepared for extreme weather events is super useful, and there are various devices out there that can help you with that. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you later.